Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, we'd like you to also see and be part of the program here today. If you are up and about and you like to catch it while you are doing what you're doing, here's how. On Facebook, you could just go over there and just take a look at the live stream. You can leave your comments as well. So if you have your tab or whichever platform, your iPhone, your Android platforms, whichever one, you could also be part of that, the live streaming going on Facebook as one of the social media platforms available for you to watch Sunrise Daily on the go. Well, we'll now go over to continue our conversation with the CBN representative in Abuja.
Thank you, Chamberlain. We still have here with us Mr. Moses Tule, who is the Director of Monetary Policy Department at the CBN. Or you're explaining certain things, but from what you've said so far, two things immediately stick out. Are we misdiagnosing what exactly is wrong with Nigeria right now? I mean, you have talked about we're dealing not just with a recession, but a stagflation. That's on the one hand. Then you also have the issue of saying that, you know, you cannot clap with one hand, that all the bodies involved in terms of monetary or in terms of policy direction need to sit in one room. One gets the impression that they're not sitting already.
No, that's not. Let's take first, beginning with the first part of your question, whether we are misdiagnosing what the issues are. I suppose so. The issues are deeper and more comprehensive than the current solution kit that is on the table. And that is why, even in the communique of the Monetary Policy Committee, there was a very strong call that we need to sit down. All the policy making organs, they must sit down to have a comprehensive diagnosis of all the issues. Because first of all, how did we get to where we are? If you recall, in July of 2015, the central bank first raised the call. We raised the red flags. And look, the way things are going, the country is heading towards a recession, and it might come sooner than in 2016, but we expected it was going to come in 2016. What did we get in return? There were attacks on the central bank that this is not correct, this is alarmist, but eventually this is where we are. If we look at the data from 2013, the build-up to where we are began long ago. It didn't begin yesterday, it didn't begin in 2015. And for people going about telling this government that we are not seeing what you are doing, we are not seeing, I think they are just slightly being unfair to this government, because the foundation to where we are was laid long before now. When we had the resources and we thought we could do anything with the foreign earnings we were getting from oil, and even the state governments had to take the federal government to court to report. The Supreme Court gave a ruling that you have to share out everything that you have in the excess crude account. I mean, we didn't save, we didn't lay the foundation. So where we are today, these are the very necessary reforms that must be carried out. In fact, the reforms should be more than what we are seeing. They have to be more than what we are seeing. So there are a whole lot of excesses that must be cut off from the system for us to get out of the stagflation. There are no quick fixes.
Mr. Tule, you're talking about, you know, I mean, you're addressing that issue. You say that the solutions on the table right now are not enough to address what we actually think it is that we're facing. That what we face is actually a lot deeper.
That's correct.
And that, you know, we all need to sit, I mean, these bodies, the CBN, the Trade Policy, Finance Ministry, and all need to sit in a room. But the question is, there is supposed to be an economic team. I did ask the Minister of Finance yesterday if the CBN was a part of that economic team, and she did confirm in the affirmative. Aren't these things being pushed up? Because what people will expect to see is that whenever the economic team has sat down to discuss certain things, that each head of agency or parastatal or even the CBN would go back and see how it is that they can work with whatever direction the economic team is going towards. It doesn't look like the CBN is on the same page from what we've heard so far.
Let's make this point very clear. You keep singling out the CBN, the CBN, the CBN. What we are saying that history teaches us, history, countries that have gone through a stagflation, the policy menu and the path to designing the policy framework, the interventions, have been more comprehensive than what we are seeing currently in the country. That's the basis for that call.
Because
you got to understand it
if
from
I may
that
come in there,
perspective.
because I know
Yes,
the CBN governor did speak to that. He said that, you know, they would have reduced the rate, but that if they do, yes, money will be in people's hands, but that the monies will be, you know, lots of money chasing too few goods, and he doesn't seem to see any plan to address production, you know, more production of goods and services that this monies will chase, something along those lines.
We are saying basically the same thing.
Are we saying that the federal government's plan in terms of trying to boost production, in terms of trying to boost manufacturing, it's not exactly going to come to fruition anytime soon? Does the CBN not have confidence in that plan?
That's not correct. It's not a matter of...
It's a question.
It's not a matter of not having confidence in that plan. What we are saying here is that the design of the policy to boost manufacturing, for instance. What is the design to boost manufacturing? And they simply tell you, give us forex, give us forex. The central bank does not give forex. The central bank does not produce forex. Foreign exchange is earned in every country. And so if you meet 1,000 manufacturers today, they will tell you their problem is forex. But look at the demand for forex, and look at in terms of the raw materials that have come into this country. They are using their demand for forex as a front to siphon resources out of this country.
Mr. Tule, let me come in here, because that will be very, very difficult for anyone to take, knowing full well that the CBN has been part and parcel of the forex business and how they allocate it to the banks and even to the Bureau de Change. But now the Nigerians think that we have tried out so many things that haven't worked from the CBN. What is there in trying out the single-digit interest rate? How hard can this be? Are we following a textbook philosophy that we just think that can't work in Nigeria?
That's not correct. We are not following a textbook philosophy. We are looking at the fundamentals of the economy, and this is the explanation to it. That it's just like when the central bank was saying it was not yet time to liberalize the foreign exchange market or to introduce the flexible foreign exchange market. Manufacturers and all stakeholders came around and say, you must do it and you must do it now. What has happened to the Naira? I want you to answer me. What has happened to the Naira after the introduction of the flexible foreign exchange market? The central bank did make this argument, and very succinctly, that we needed to introduce the flexibility in the foreign exchange market against the total policy menu, that the reform menu that is on the table, that the foreign exchange reforms cannot come as a single stand-alone reform. It must come as part of the comprehensive reforms that are being introduced. But with all the pressures and with all the costs, now, again, the blame goes back to the central bank that why is the Naira where it is. So I think the issue is, once in a while, if we look at more objectively what the issues are, with respect to the interest rates in this country are determined by the market. We've come from a situation where the central bank dictated what the interest rate should be. Go back to the 1970s, back to the 1980s, and look at the data. We dictated what the interest rate should be. We dictated the sectors to which credit must go to. What was the response of the banking system? Credit to the private sector was extremely very low. Extremely very low until we liberalized